This is the Big Small Business Show, and this is our expert slot. Today in studio with us, we've got Reinard Kruger, who is a partner at a boutique IP law firm called Spur & Fisher. And today we're going to be talking about IP, something very important for us entrepreneurs. Often I get entrepreneurs coming to me and they are afraid that people will steal their ideas. My personal view is that ideas are one thing, execution is another. But we cannot deny that IP protection is something important for us to consider on our entrepreneurial journey. Welcome, Reinard.
Thanks, Anna. Appreciate it.
So let's start off with what is IP? What constitutes IP and what isn't IP?
Okay, well, in general terms, IP will comprise of trademarks, copyright, designs, patents, and your know-how. Now, I think for the SME or an entrepreneur, patents and designs are less important. You generally look at trademarks, copyright, and your know-how when you talk about IP for SMEs. Now, your trademark would be generally your logo, your brand name. It's the identification feature that indicates the origin of the goods and services which you offer, okay? Right. When it comes to copyright, you're looking at the logo, which is an artistic work, or your literary work, which is the wording on your brochure or your website. That's when it comes to copyright. And your know-how is generally your ideas, your concepts that you have. To give you an example, the KFC recipe would be constituted as know-how because it's not in the public domain, but once it is in the public domain, it's out there and it's gone. You understand? Right. And generally, you can protect your trademarks by registration thereof. Copyright automatically vests if you comply with certain requirements. And your know-how you will protect by way of a non-disclosure agreement.
So let's just go to number 2. You said if you, it's automatic,
yes,
as long as you comply with what?
Because South Africa is part of the Berne Convention, yeah. We say that you can't register your copyrights. Countries like Canada, US, Mexico, they generally will have a registration process. South Africa doesn't. So basically our act says that if the work is original, when I'm talking about a work, I'm talking about an artistic work or a literary work. If it's original, in a material form and the author, the person who created it, is a citizen of South Africa or a citizen of the Berne Convention country, then generally copyright will automatically vest in that work. So even though
what does that mean? Does it mean that if you write something,
yeah,
right, and I then use it in my work, yeah, what can you do?
Well, basically there's copyright. So the point that you finish your work, there's already copyright in that.
Right.
Okay, so you're already the owner thereof, and I think that's one thing that SMEs don't really understand. So they have written this work, they don't even know they have copyright in that work, but they automatically have it by way of the Copyright Act. Yes. Okay, so now you come along and you use that. Yes. You can stop them based on your copyright.
So go to a lawyer and say...
Yes, exactly. So probably what will happen is you'll say, okay, well, this is my work. Okay, we'll send them a letter, say, guys, listen, this is our client's work, he created it. Stop using it. If you don't want to comply, then you'll go to court. But that's a pro, is that it's not registerable, but it's easy, it's automatically, but when you need to prove it, that is the con, because it's very expensive. Yeah. Because then now you need to show and prove to the court that you are actually the copyright owner thereof. Yes. And that's generally a very expensive exercise. Right. So yes, it's nice to have automatic protection, but when you want to enforce it, it's generally very expensive.
Okay. So that's really the point I was trying to make, because people then say, well, you know, if I produce an image, right, let's call it in a PowerPoint presentation, and then I goes to a talk and I say, hey, there's my image, somebody else has, through whatever means, has got hold of my image, which I produced here. Is it really worth enforcing the copyright?
Well, I always tell my clients, listen, it's always worth sending a letter, but pursuing it further, it generally depends on whether the guy is really upset about it. Generally, you'll find that the small and SME people or entrepreneurs don't generally pursue the high court proceedings because the costs are just so high. Yeah. You'll find that the multinationals or more bigger companies will engage in litigation.
Okay, let's now move over to patent, what I can and can't patent.
Patents. Okay, well, patents generally, you can patent a new inventive idea, but it must be in a material form. So you can't patent an idea, concept, in the
Right.
sense that I have this new music concept for a music show. You can't patent that.
Right.
Basically, it's a physical thing that you need to patent, like a formula for a medicine, or you have a new invention for a car engine,
Right.
or something like those lines. But no, a general idea, there's a maximum, it's no protection for that. Basically, that's why you're protected by way of contract and not by way of IP.
We'll get to the contract. Let's just stick to the patent now.
Yes.
So if I don't have to, if I use the engine, I come up with a new engine idea.
Yes.
If I do it in drawings, can I patent it through drawings, or do I physically have to create the thing, the physical
Oh,
thing?
you can, yeah, you basically can do it by way of drawings. But generally you want to have a working prototype before you file. So you file a provisional patent application based on your drawings, which give you like 12 months period within which to file your final patent application, right? So based on your drawings, you can get a prototype and see whether this thing is worthwhile filing a final patent application, because for every stage is a payment. Once you know that you have a workable product, then you can file your final patent application, and then you can decide how you want to go into international markets. Generally, you can file a PCT application, which gives you a period within which to commercialize your patent, get some funds so that you can pay for all the patents in the jurisdictions which you are interested in, and once you have that, then you have your patent, which just lasts only for 20 years. I think that's also very important. Patent protection is only for 20 years.
We've got 2 minutes left. I just want to carry on talking about patents now, because there's also a perception that if you change a patent that patents aren't really valuable, because if there's a 15, I don't know what the percentage is, a change in the good,
I understand what you're saying. So you'll find that pharmaceuticals, they will say, okay, well, for example, a Miprodol, right?
Yeah.
They have this one purpose for this Miprodol for pain. Now the patent lapses. Now they say, okay, well, the same thing, but now it's for heart conditions, because they found that it's beneficial for that. Now, that's just my opinion, but generally these patents are revocable, because it was in the public domain. So you can file. So for example, South Africa is a depository system. So they don't do searches and examinations. They just look at whether your documentation is in order. You file it and you get a patent for that. Now the problem comes when you want to enforce your patent.
Yes.
Okay. Now, for example, let's for example say Miprodol again. You now want to enforce your patent based on the heart disease, but now you file allowance proceedings, the counterpart will then say, okay, well, no, there's prior art for this.
Yes.
Okay, with the prior art, they'll attack your patent, the validity of your patent. And if it's found to be invalid, then the court case go away. So that's the...
Right, Reinard, we've run out of time. I want to call you back with your permission to talk more about, I want to finish the conversation around copyright and talk about patent and talk about other elements of IP.
Okay.
Thanks for being on the show.
Pleasure.
Well, that's it for today's expert slot. So please stay tuned for my impressions of the entrepreneurial journey. Well, it's time for my reflections on the entrepreneurial journey. And today I want to talk about something I'm sure that you feel. And I just want you to know that I feel it too. And people who've been in the entrepreneurship space for 20 years, 30 years, and even 40 years feel it as well. I was recently speaking with an incredibly successful businessman at a meeting. I would say he was a billionaire. I'm not sure, but I suspect he was a billionaire. And I was asking him, how things were, and he said to me, "Sure, Alon, I feel I can lose it all today. Like I feel like I can lose it all today." And I had this sort of welled up feeling in me, because after 19 years of doing what I've been doing, I feel the same thing. I have been this intense feeling of vulnerability 19 years later into the business. There is this sense of that it's stuck together with chewing gum and press stick, that this business is stuck together in that way, and that some wind can come through and blow it over. When I think practically about it, that's not true. It's not true. I can go and I can sit down and I can very logically show that that's not true. But emotionally inside, that feeling has never gone away. So I was thinking about it, whether that's a good feeling or a bad feeling. Does it hold me back? Does it propel me? What is that feeling of vulnerability? And in my view, and also in this gentleman's view, is that that's what keeps us paranoid about the future. Andy Grove wrote a book, Only the Paranoid Survive. And what that is about the fact that you might be here today, but gone tomorrow. It's the theory of impermanence, that nothing is forever. And so we live always with this threat of an existential threat as entrepreneurs. So maybe it's just me and this billionaire, maybe it's not you, but if it is you, and you're thinking that it's just you that's feeling that way, well, join the club. I too feel vulnerable 19 years later. That's it for our show today, and that's it for my entrepreneurial reflections, but that's not it for my business today. I will be here tomorrow fighting on just like you. Do remember, if you think it, write it down and make it a reality.
The Big Small Business Show is brought to you by Chartered Accountants of South Africa. Transform the future of your business. Partner with the CASA today.
Everywhere you go, MTN